All right, g'day, hi, and welcome. Okay, I'm going to make a short little video, and this is in regards of people who want to be musicians for a living and do the musician thing and stuff like that. And can you do it? Can you not do it? How hard is it to do? Whatever. And I've been hearing a lot of people come up with a more realistic concept of what it means to be a musician in the current year of 2024, and how musicians, the way I look at it is musician stuff. Yes, it looks like a lot of things have changed over the years, but I think it's mostly just perception that has changed over the years, not the actual circumstances. So what I mean by that is you've probably all met the band member or musician that's like, if I don't make it big by such and such an age, that's it, I give up. And I'm going to quit playing if I don't make it big. Kind of like the way a child would throw a tantrum, right? And, if I don't get my way kind of thing. And I mean, that's the worst way to look at being a musician. You do the musician thing is always fun first and for the love of, being music. That's why you do it, right? If you do it for any other reason, you're probably going to tire of it pretty quickly. So when I hear people like say stuff like that, kind of like, if I don't make it big by the time I'm 22 or whatever, that's it. I'm going to burn all my instruments and give up. I'm like, well, that already tells me everything I need to know about you as a musician. It means you're not really a musician anyway. You just want fame. You don't actually care about the instrument or instruments or whatever. You just care about the fame. And I get that, fame and money thing for sure. Who wouldn't want that, right? But if you're a musician, you never really think in these terms. You're like, if I can make a go of it, that's great. So years ago, in some ways, it was easier to make money as a musician because there was more of an industry. There was more people that had to do transactions in order to do stuff. Now everything can be done at home. And if people were to say, was it better back then or better now? And I know a lot of people will probably beg to differ because of the perception, right? Like there's one guy, I can't remember the name of his channels, but he's one of those studio musicians that made a lot of money in the 80s and 90s as a session musician, and he made like ridiculous money, right? Like he's probably a multimillionaire. And he was saying, well, and this was his opinion, a guy that's very experienced in stuff like that, and he has made it. He worked with like people like Bon Jovi and stuff like that. So he did guitar tracks for just about everybody, right? And what he said was, if you were to compare the music industry then to now, he goes, yes, you could make it big. You write one song and that could basically make your career. Like a multi-million-dollar song, right? And that used to happen, right? But when you really look at it worldwide, it only happened to a handful of people in probably either Hollywood or Nashville. You know what I mean? Like it didn't really happen anywhere else. And when you think about that, that's pretty limited, isn't it? So what he was saying, he goes, no, the music industry is much better now. It's more competitive in the sense of, well, I don't like to say competitive because like you're not competing against other bands. It's not a sport. You know what I mean? Like you're writing music, like this concept of, you're competing with other bands is the dumbest thing ever, because it's like, if you write good songs, like people listen to more, with the exception of that one guy, you know what I mean, that listens to one band and only one band, and anything else just sucks, right? Yes, we all know one guy like that, but everybody else is like, what do you listen to? They'll list off 10, 15, 20 bands, whatever they're currently listening to. They'll list off genres, they'll list, people listen to a lot of different stuff. So your band just needs to focus on being the best band they can be, not are they better than this other band. Because if you're doing that, well, again, you're not, number one, you're not having fun, and number two, you're focusing your attention on stuff that's not as important as focusing on the music, right? So when you got a guy that made his living, you know, as a session musician, and he's telling you that no, it's better now, and the reason why it's better now is that anybody can do it, and that has its minds and vices. And again, it really comes down to the same thing I've been saying forever and a day. I mean, I'm 51 years old now, and sure, I haven't made it big or like, but I've played live and whatever, and I've shook hands with some musicians that were way more progressed than what I was, and stuff like that. And at the end of the day, it was like it didn't really matter, that what make it big meant, because it's not like you don't like, okay, you make it big, you hit a plateau, and then that's it. You sit on your butt for the rest of your life. Even if you were to be given, say, a recording deal or something like that, which they don't really exist anymore. Like now, you record your stuff and you shop it to people who are going to promote it for you. Only a handful of people, make it in the music industry, because the music industry is very selective. It's very, and I remember, give you an idea, a band called Vixen. They were held back. If they were able to promote themselves, they probably would have done a lot better. You know, but they were held back because the record companies, this manager didn't get along with that record company exec and stuff like that. So that's what you were relying on. You weren't relying solely on your bands. Where a lot of bands now, they do it all themselves, so it doesn't matter. You don't need that middleman record executive anymore. You just don't need them. What you need is a killer song. Uh, Northman north of Richmond, Richmond north of Richmond. Like, I mean, that guy, he did well with one song. His other songs were okay too, but that one song, it just hit, and he made it popular. Now, will he be a multi-millionaire out of it? I don't know. If he, if he copyrights his songs, and he'll get royalties maybe for the rest of his life. Good on him, right? So that can still happen to people, right? So when people say, "Oh no, the music industry's dead," there's no money in gigging, blah blah blah, and I'm like, but yet there's people out there doing it. So the thing is the naysayers are usually the people that found a way not to succeed, which is a lot easier and a lot more plentiful, right? So the thing is that one of the guys I like listening to from time to time is the drummer from I Prevail, and he was showing how, like, like, it took him 5 years to become where he is right now, and maybe what will the future hold. But he goes, to become from he goes, most people want to become working musicians, but they have no plan. And that, I think, is the big one. If you don't have a plan to you know get into a band, and write your own songs, and then get playing big money gigs, like, it's not easy to get that stuff. You have to plan it out. And that's where 99.9% of musicians, they don't plan anything out. Like, I've got a plan. Will it work? Will it not work? I don't know. It really will depend on how well I can promote, because you could pretty much promote any song, no matter how good it is, how bad it is, and if it's promoted, it tends to rise to the top. Like, there's 8 billion people on the planet. Someone's going to like it, right? No matter how good or bad it is. If it's an average song, it might not ever make the number one chart, but it might it might be on the charts for years. You know what I mean? There is song, and the proof is in the pudding. I mean, like, how many songs do you still know from the 60s and 70s, and you were born like 15 years ago? You know what I mean? That's what I'm talking about, is that stuff sticks around when it's good, or gets well promoted, whether it's good or not, right? It gets promoted. And the thing is that if you don't have a plan to become a working musician, you're probably going to be starting off as a musician and the musician and is basically you do a full-time job somewhere else and on the weekends you play live or something like that or with your band, or you work part-time and then you're in the band the other part-time. So a musician and that's probably the most realistic plan for most people, being a musician and so that you have a way to fund your project. Right now, if you have all the tools you need to get going, then it's just a matter of just pumping out songs and videos. I think videos is the way to success now, because the videos you can produce yourself at home, and as long as they're okay, and you can produce the music at home, and as long as it's okay and the song is half decent, uh, if it's good, like meritocracy will take over. So for me, I think be a musician, and it's just like you may not have to play live for years and years and years to become successful. There's many people that are very successful. They've never played live in their lives, and they're putting out some of the most amazing music in video form out there, right? And you say, yeah, but I don't have all the video equipment. I don't have all this. Neither do I. But one of the advice that the drummer from I Prevail says, he goes, look, he rented stuff, he borrowed stuff, he found places to, film videos and, make the best demo of yourself that you can. Now, I'm kind of bad at this where I just kind of like turn on the camera and whatever comes out, whatever. But when I do apply myself, I know people do appreciate it. And that's any musician.